Imagine writing a really messy, completely disorganized grocery list on a Post-it note.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. You've got terrible handwriting, you cross out almond milk, and you just scribble oat with three question marks underneath it.
Yeah, super typical.
And then you just snap a photo of that chaotic little square of paper with your phone. You put the phone down and you just go about your day.
Don't even think about it again.
Exactly. But an hour later, everything on that list just arrives at your front door. You didn't open a browser. You didn't scroll through brands.
You didn't even click a buy button.
Nothing. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a document that suggests the era of manual, conscious shopping. Scrolling, comparing, adding to cart is just quietly coming to an end.
It really is a fundamental rewiring of consumer behavior. I mean,
Yeah.
we are transitioning from shopping as an active chore to shopping as this sort of ambient, invisible service.
And we actually have the roadmap for exactly how it happened. We've got our hands on this slide deck, and it's titled The Rise and Fall of Amazon Rufus.
Which is a very dramatic title.
It is. And just to set the table for you listening, we don't work for Amazon, okay? This isn't some internal corporate presentation we're giving. We are just analyzing this really fascinating document from the outside.
Purely independent opinion here.
Right. And the story it tells is almost cinematic. Our mission for today's deep dive is to explore how this seemingly simple conversational AI shopping experiment quietly morphed into a fully autonomous commercial agent.
And what that timeline reveals about the future of how you will buy things.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Where does the timeline actually kick off?
It begins with a very deliberate, cautious first step in February 2024.
Right, that's slide 2.
Yep. Slide 2 details the beta launch of Rufus. Amazon defined it at the time as this generative AI expert shopping assistant, and it was trained on their massive product catalog and general web data.
So it was supposed to just answer questions, right?
Exactly. The stated goal was to answer questions and guide product discovery without the user ever leaving the familiar Amazon shopping experience.
When I read that description, the analogy that immediately came to mind was a store clerk.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, not a robotic vending machine, but a highly knowledgeable, maybe slightly overeager clerk who just sort of follows you around the aisles carrying a clipboard, just waiting for you to ask a question.
Waiting to be helpful.
Right. But looking back at this from a few years out, I have to ask, was that friendly, familiar integration just a Trojan horse?
What do you mean?
Well, it just feels like they were playing nice to get their foot in the door before taking over the entire purchasing process.
I mean, I wouldn't classify it as a Trojan horse, mostly because that implies deception. It was more of a necessary psychological bridge.
A bridge.
Yeah. Think back to early 2024. Consumers were still very wary of AI hallucinations. They didn't fully trust language models yet.
That's true. People were pretty skeptical.
So if Amazon had launched an autonomous agent on day one that just started spending people's money, the friction and honestly the fear would have been insurmountable.
People would have freaked out.
Totally. The familiarity of a chat interface, that helpful cloak persona you mentioned, was a calculated stepping stone. They needed the public to get used to the mechanics of an AI guiding them.
Right, without feeling like they had lost control of the steering wheel. You have to date the AI before you give it the keys to your bank account.
That is exactly it.
That makes total sense. So moving to the next phase, slide 3 maps out the July 2024 rollout. This is when Rufus graduated from beta.
Right, hitting the mobile app and desktop for all U.S. customers.
And the scale listed here is just massive. Millions of users overnight.
It became an unprecedented stress test of conversational commerce. I mean, they were processing millions of nuanced questions about product details and comparisons in real time.
One feature they highlight heavily here on slide 3 is the what do customers say capability. And I found the mechanics of this fascinating.
Oh, the review summarization.
Yeah, because nobody wants to read 400 reviews of a spatula just to find out if the handle melts in the dishwasher. But how does the AI actually summarize that without just cherry-picking random keywords?
So it uses semantic clustering. Instead of just doing a basic search for the word melt, the model actually analyzes the underlying sentiment and context of thousands of sentences simultaneously.
Wow, so it actually gets the nuance.
Exactly. It groups similar experiences together, say complaints about heat resistance or praise for durability, and it generates a synthesized consensus. It basically turns unstructured human complaining into structured, actionable data.
That structural shift really shows up in the UI design, which they detail on the next slide, slide 4. It explicitly notes that Rufus didn't live in a separate tab.
Right, it lived directly inside the existing shopping flow.
It embedded itself as this, quote, quiet layer of intelligence beneath every search. But let me challenge that design choice for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
If you spend billions developing a cutting-edge AI, why bury it inside the regular search bar? I mean, if I'm a habit-driven shopper, I'm just typing paper towels and hitting enter.
You're not looking for a chat.
Right. If the AI is invisible, how do you train an entire generation of shoppers to talk to a search bar instead of typing into it? That feels like a massive behavioral hurdle to me.
I get that. It seems counterintuitive to hide your billion-dollar investment. But what's fascinating here is the psychology of friction in user experience.
The friction.
Yeah. If Amazon created a separate flashy tab or like a standalone app for Rufus, they would be demanding a behavior change from the user.
Oh, I see.
They'd be asking you to stop shopping, navigate to this new AI space, have a whole conversation, and then return to your cart. That context switching is friction.
It's extra work.
Exactly. By weaving it into the search bar you already use, it acts as an interceptor. You don't have to seek out the intelligence. It meets you exactly at the moment your purchasing intent is forming.
So it's waiting in the flow of traffic rather than building a new destination.
Perfectly said.
You start typing running shoes, and because it's embedded, it instantly cross-references your purchase history and suggests filtering for, like, the wide toe box you usually buy.
Precisely. It removed the cognitive distance between realizing you need something and figuring out the exact right version of that thing to buy.
But a chat interface still has a fatal flaw, right? It still requires the human to initiate the work. How did Amazon bridge that gap to make the AI act on its own?
That brings us right to slide 5.
Right, the late 2025 updates. The headline here is that Rufus stopped just answering questions and started acting. And they outlined 3 major technical upgrades.
Those upgrades were massive.
Yeah, so first, the integration of advanced large language models, specifically Anthropic's Claude Sonnet and Amazon's own Nova models. Second is activity-based search. And third is price tracking.
That price tracking is wild. It auto-adds items to your cart and triggers purchases when prices hit a user-defined threshold.
Which is huge. But here's where it gets really interesting for anyone studying consumer behavior, and that's the activity-based search.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
The slide uses the example of a user just typing, "I'm planning a camping trip." That simple sentence fundamentally shifts shopping. You are no longer searching for a specific noun, like a sleeping bag.
Right. You're not looking for a thing.
No, you are handing the AI a holistic problem surviving in the woods for 3 days, and you're just asking it to solve it.
Think about the cognitive load historically involved in that scenario.
It's exhausting.
It is. The human bore 100% of the burden of anticipation. You had to account for weather, food storage, shelter, first aid, lighting.
And if you forgot bug spray, well, that was your fault.
Exactly. You suffered. Activity-based search shifts the burden of anticipation entirely to the machine.
So how does it actually do that?
Well, the AI cross-references the weather forecast for your destination, calculates the duration of the trip, checks your past Amazon orders to see what year you already own, and then presents the delta. It only shows you the exact items you're missing.
Wow. It changes shopping from a task of finding items to a task of delegating outcomes.
Delegating outcomes, exactly.
But to delegate outcomes, the system needs autonomy. And that moves us into February 2026 on slide 6, which the deck title is Agentic Capabilities.
This is a crucial threshold.
This is where Rufus fully crosses over from being an assistant to an agent.
And the distinction between those two terms is really critical here. An assistant helps you perform a task. An agent performs the task on your behalf.
And the features they list to prove this are, honestly, they're pretty aggressive. Agentic Auto Buy allows the AI to make actual purchases without you ever clicking a final checkout button.
All based on parameters you've established, of course.
Right. And then Shop Direct lets it negotiate and buy from third-party merchants outside the main Amazon warehouse. But the feature that genuinely stopped me in my tracks, and the deck actually gives this its own dedicated focus on slide 7, is handwriting transcription.
Ah, yes, the Post-it note scenario we started the show with.
Yes. You snap a photo of a messy handwritten list on your counter, and Rufus reads the scribbles, finds the best matches, and builds the entire cart.
It essentially bridges the final gap between the physical environment and the digital storefront.
The deck claims this, quote, captured something elemental by quietly erasing the boundary between the physical and digital worlds. But I have to push back on how celebratory this slide is.
Okay, I think I know where you're going with this.
Isn't there something deeply unsettling about this? I mean, we are giving a massive digital entity an intimate snapshot of our kitchen counters, our terrible handwriting, the literal scribbles of our daily lives.
It's very personal.
And then we're letting it autonomously spend our money based on that. It feels like we were inviting the corporation past the front door and letting them rifle through our junk drawer.
The discomfort you were describing is incredibly common, and honestly, it's valid. It does feel invasive. But this raises an important question about the commercial value of that exact intimacy.
What do you mean?
Well, human beings are inherently messy, right? We do not think in perfectly formatted search queries. We think in shorthand on the back of envelopes.
Totally.
For 3 decades, e-commerce forced humans to act like computers. We had to translate our messy, abstract needs into precise keywords typed into little rectangular boxes.
Oh, wow. We had to learn their language.
Exactly. The handwriting feature reversed that dynamic. It allowed the human to remain messy and forced the computer to adapt to human behavior.
Which is way harder to build.
So much harder. But commercially speaking, turning that raw, unfiltered human behavior instantly into a perfectly optimized digital transaction, that is the holy grail. It removes the final, most stubborn point of friction in retail, the translation of thought to digital text.
That makes a lot of sense. They didn't just digitize the checkout process, they digitized the junk drawer.
Yeah, that's a great way to phrase it.
And once you get used to that level of convenience, just pointing your camera at the fridge notepad and having groceries materialize on your porch, you are never going back to manually typing milk into a search bar.
You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
But building that kind of frictionless infrastructure isn't cheap, and it isn't easy. Which brings us to the broader industry context the deck provides on slide 8. It paints a really stark contrast between Amazon's strategy and OpenAI's strategy with ChatGPT.
This comparison is crucial for understanding the macroeconomics of AI infrastructure right now.
The document points out that while Amazon was doubling down on direct checkouts and owning the entire transaction layer, OpenAI actually retreated. They removed direct checkouts from ChatGPT and started redirecting users out to other retailer apps.
Right, they stepped away from the transaction.
So to visualize the difference for you listening, it's like building a brilliant brain versus building the entire nervous system. OpenAI realized that owning the actual physical cash register is a massive headache, so they decided to just be the billboard pointing you to the store.
Yep.
While Amazon decided they needed to own the mall, the cash register, the delivery truck, and the road the truck drives on.
It's tempting to look at OpenAI's pullback and label it a failure in e-commerce. But the deck rightly frames it as a strategic recalibration.
How so?
Well, generating text recommendations telling a user which laptop has the better processor is purely a software problem. Language models excel at that. But handling the final mile of a physical purchase, that is an operational nightmare.
I can only imagine.
It involves integrating payment gateways, managing fraud detection, calculating sales tax across thousands of different municipal jurisdictions, coordinating warehouse logistics, and dealing with the massive financial drain of processing physical returns.
Oh, right, because you can't just hallucinate a refund or a shipping label.
No, you absolutely cannot. OpenAI realized that building and maintaining all of that physical infrastructure just wasn't worth the margin. So they retreated to the digital layer, where software scales infinitely.
Whereas Amazon
already possessed a multi-trillion-dollar global physical infrastructure. For them, the AI wasn't a standalone product. It was simply a new cognitive layer placed on top of the world's most efficient logistics network.
So OpenAI had the brain, but Amazon had the hands. And a brain without hands can't actually hand you a package.
That's beautifully put.
So with all of this infrastructure in place and Rufus operating as this highly capable agent, we arrive at the climax of the document on slide 9, May 2026. The slide is dramatically titled The End of an Era, and it details the arrival of Alexa for shopping.
Right, which marks the dissolution of the Rufus brand entirely.
Yeah, the slide categorizes the transition perfectly. Rufus is labeled the standalone chatbot. It was a conversational layer on top of the shopping experience that was capable, but ultimately separate.
Distinct from the rest of the ecosystem.
Exactly. Alexa for shopping, however, is defined as the integration. Product comparisons, automated purchasing, price drop triggers, all of it woven natively into the entire Alexa hardware and software ecosystem.
It's everywhere now.
So what does this all mean? If Rufus was processing millions of queries and successfully reading our handwritten notes and doing all this great stuff, why kill the name? Did the experiment fail, or did it just get swallowed by the larger ecosystem?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the natural, necessary life cycle of a successful, highly disruptive technology.
So it wasn't a failure at all.
Not at all. Rufus was never meant to be the final destination. Think of it as scaffolding. It was the training wheels Amazon needed to teach its ecosystem, and crucially, its users how to trust an AI with their wallets.
Oh, back to the dating phase.
Yes. Once a consumer is comfortable with an AI buying their household supplies autonomously, they don't need to visit a specific branded shopping chatbot anymore. They just expect that intelligence to exist everywhere.
In their smart speaker, in their car dashboard, on their television.
Exactly. Rufus had to die as a standalone identity, so its underlying logic could become the invisible, omnipresent nervous system powering the entire Alexa environment.
It went from being a distinct tool you had to pick up to the actual environment you operate within.
Beautifully said.
That synthesis brings us to the final wrap-up on slide 10, which outlines the future of AI in e-commerce. The entire journey we've tracked today shows that Rufus wasn't a mistake, it was a prototype.
A very necessary prototype.
We moved from a chatbot in the early beta to an agentic AI that takes autonomous actions to full ecosystem integration where the AI just lives in the background of your life.
It's a profound shift.
And for you listening to this right now, the implications of this document are huge. You are actively living through the death of the traditional search bar.
It's history.
The era of you manually scrolling through pages and products, analyzing reviews, and managing your own cart is ending. You are witnessing the birth of an invisible personal shopper that tracks prices, anticipates your needs, and executes the purchase before you even realize you're running low on supplies.
And, that transition from manual effort to automated anticipation leaves us with one incredibly profound implication to consider.
Let's hear it.
We spent this time analyzing how agentic AI is designed to seamlessly handle all our routine shopping autonomously. It perfectly predicts our practical needs, cross-references our data, and optimizes every single transaction for price and utility.
It's ruthlessly practical.
Right. But human beings aren't exclusively practical. We are deeply emotional and we are highly spontaneous.
That's true.
So if an AI is autonomously handling 90% of our wallet based on pure logic and calculated need, does that mean our spontaneous emotional impulse purchases, the candy bar at the register, the jacket we absolutely didn't need but loved, will completely disappear?
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Or perhaps more likely, will marketers simply stop targeting human psychology altogether and instead spend billions of dollars figuring out how to manipulate our AI agents into making those impulse buys on our behalf?